Part 9. Lamps That Sing. The South End Church had been redone twice, once in the 50s with pastel tile, and once in the 90s with carpet that never forgave winter boots. But the bones of the place were older, arches like hands folded, stone like patience, lamps cast from bell metal that hummed if you listened the wrong way. Kate led them in after hours, lockpick grin on her face, whispering, "I cataloged the pews as antiques. Technically this is research." The nave smelled like wax and rain still caught in coats. Rowan posted Theo at the door. Nor climbed into the loft where shadows bred in rafters. Mika dumped her bag under a pew and held up a Polaroid. A baby with a crown scrawled in Sharpie. "Mascot," she whispered. Abena touched one of the lamps. It sang, not out loud, in her teeth. "Here is metal that used to keep." Elias set the tin of filings on the altar. He'd stopped trembling by sheer practice, not health. His knee argued every stair. His halo hummed wider, hungry for thread. The experiment. They didn't summon Marcus with a phone or a text. They rang him. Elias pressed reverse into the lamp, coaxing its alloy to remember when it had been bell. The filings lifted. The nave bent light wrong. Marcus Veyne arrived at the back pew like a late parishioner who never apologizes. Coat unbuttoned, hair perfect, eyes lit with mischief. "You're ringing a hymn without lyrics," he said. "I approve." "Stay in the circle," Rowan said. Nor's shadows tightened, black lace around pillars. Marcus sat in the front pew, folded his hands. "Confession time then." Elias ignored the bait. He held out his palm. 1 second. Marcus grinned. "Take it." The thread came smoother now. Elias wound it through the lamp, which vibrated until the bulb flickered and glowed like dawn. "2," Elias said. Marcus cocked his head. "Ambitious, fine. 2 threads." The lamp sang louder, glass chiming in sympathy. "3," Elias said. Marcus laughed. "Now you're just greedy. But very well. 3." The filings spun in the air like constellations. Abena closed her eyes, hearing the line tighten, history bending closer. The push. Elias tugged. Marcus flinched, small but real. His hands trembled once, then still. The lamp above them cracked with a note like a struck tuning fork. Dust rained on pews. Nor's shadows held the circle tight. "Origin," Abena whispered. "Closer." Elias yanked harder. Marcus hissed as if wind had cut him. For a heartbeat, his skin blurred. Less lined, less scarred, hair shading younger. "Enough," Marcus barked, and the pew cracked under his palms. "Not yet," Elias growled. He forced another second out. Blood came from his nose, hot and metallic. Marcus stood. "Careful, boy, you'll break the bell." The lamp shattered. Glass raining like hail, bulb bursting in a spray of white fire. Nor flung shadow to shield them. Mika whooped like it was fireworks. The filings whirled, desperate to fall. Elias clamped them midair, trembling. The line between Marcus and Origin glowed, visible to all of them now, a taut silver cord stitched into his spine. Abena gasped. "We see it. Gods help us, we see it." Marcus snarled, not amused now. He lunged, faster than etiquette, straight for Elias. The clash. Rowan fired once, bullet aimed at pavement, not person, sound to distract. Theo threw paper like blades. They cut Marcus's coat but not his skin. Nor's shadow lashed his legs, tangling. Mika blew the whoopee cushion just to hear the squeak in the chaos. Elias pulled the line. Marcus screamed, not in pain but in outrage, like a contract being broken mid-clause. The sound shook dust from the rafters. "Origin," Elias panted. "I can reach it." "Stop," Alonzo shouted, stumbling in, late but heavy with debt. "You'll kill yourself, not him." Elias faltered. The filings dropped an inch. Marcus ripped free of Nor's shadow and slammed a hand against Elias's chest. The world froze. Not Elias's power, Marcus's presence. For a beat, the church was stone under pressure, air unbreathable. Marcus leaned close, eyes wild. "Do it, and you'll never walk forward again." You'll be stuck in yesterday, boy, a statue of regret. Elias spat blood, grinning through red teeth. Statues outlive kings. He pulled one more time. The line snapped taut. Marcus faded younger in half his face, wrinkles gone, hair darker, before his will slammed shut like iron gates. The cord recoiled, searing Elias's hand. He collapsed, gasping, filings scattered. Marcus staggered back, panting. His handprint burned on Elias's shirt. He laughed once, ragged. Close, too close. Try again, and you'll bury yourself before you bury me. He vanished, not theatrically, just walked into shadow and didn't walk out. Aftermath. The church was ruinous, lamp shards on floor, pew cracked, shadow knots smoldering like smoke. Mika picked glass out of her hair and said, "Well, that worked a little." Veyne touched Elias's hand. The skin blistered, raw from holding the line. "You had him, we all saw it." "Not enough," Elias rasped. His voice shook. His knee gave out and Rowan caught him. Alonzo sat beside him, face pale. "You gave me too much debt. You're leaking time." Elias coughed, spitting red. "Then patch me until we finish this." Nor crouched, wrapping shadow over the filing's tin, cradling it. "We can do it again. But next time, we need a place stronger than a church. Something built for echoes." "Where?" Rowan asked. Veyne smiled grimly. "A theater? He loves theater. Let's trap him on his own stage." Elias closed his eyes. His chest tick beat weak but steady. He whispered, "Make him late. One more time." The filings hummed like a lullaby. The line still shimmered faintly, proof it could be pulled again. Part 10, Curtain Call. The Rialto had been dying for 20 years in velvet and gold. A 1920s palace, all plaster cherubs and chandeliers. It smelled like dust and oranges from a long, closed lobby bar. The city leased it out for graduate recitals and nostalgia. Tonight, it was a trap. Kate stood center stage in work boots and a black dress that could pass for stagehand or historian. She ran a palm along the footlights like reading Braille. "Bells," she murmured. Everything here was cast from something else. She held up the tin of filings. The tiny iron particles shivered in the hush, remembering their job. Nor walked the wings, stringing shadow from the fly system to the proscenium. Her rope drank dimness and became rails, loops, a grid you couldn't see until it took you. "Circle, no seams," she said, tightening a knot that was more prayer than geometry. Veyne leaned over the orchestra pit with her notebook, mapping echoes. "This place is built to return what you say to you," she said. "That's what we need. We'll make his own beginning answer." Mika sat on the lip of the stage, legs dangling, bag labeled "in case" in her lap. She blew dust off a whoopee cushion and tucked it away with solemnity. "For timing," she told the theater. "Comedic gods demand offerings." Theo moved through aisles, cutting programs into weaponized confetti. Each square of paper had a line of text printed on it, misquotes of Marcus's rules. He fed them into his pockets and smiled. 1,000 cuts looked like snow. Rowan stood dead center, hands in his coat pockets, chin tilted up to the chandelier. "Positions," he said. It was less command, more choreography. "We keep him in sight. We keep Elias breathing. We keep mercy with teeth." Alonzo unrolled a yoga mat in the wings, some rituals are universal, and sat cross-legged. He closed his eyes and invited Det to sit with him. "I can hold 10 seconds of him," he said quietly. "Then I vomit, and someone else counts." Elias stood backstage with the tin in both hands. His right knee hummed a weather forecast he ignored. The tremor in his fingers ticked metronome soft. He had slept 6 hours and let himself age 15 minutes that morning just to remember he was a person, not a promise. He shook out his shoulders and felt the halo widen until the whole stage was under his palm. "Ready?" Rowan asked. "No," Elias said. "Good. They didn't call Marcus. They raised him." Kate took the tin to the downstage edge, sprinkled a line of filings across the worn boards, and traced a bell in the dust with one finger, a child's drawing of a sainted instrument. Elias pressed reverse into it. The particles lifted and formed the bell's negative in air. The chandelier above them joined the choir, the brass in its bones recalling an older job. Lamps along the aisles went warm. The Rialto's ceiling, painted sky, 1,000 fake stars, held its breath. Places, Rowan said again, softer. Noor's shadows tightened around the stage like a circle drawn with an expensive compass. Abina breathed deep, listening for staples. Mika rolled her shoulders, hands ready, palms to truth. Theo stood at the end of the center aisle with confetti between his fingers. Alonzo set his palms on the stage and became a quiet lake. Elias stepped into the light. "Marcus," he said, and his voice carried as if he were a tenor. "We're starting without you." The front doors opened like a magic trick practiced for a century. Marcus Veyne walked down the center aisle as if seats were pews and he owned everyone in them. He wore a suit the color of the backstage, they always look like that, and a tie that understood it was a blade. His eyes went up to the chandelier. He smiled so small it felt like a confidence you weren't invited to share. "What an exquisite room," he said. "I've missed theaters. They flatter us." "We're going to use it to make you late," Mika called from the lip. "So be on time for once." Marcus laughed, delighted. "I like your chorus." He stepped onto the stage and paused, as if recognizing a chalk circle after the chalk has been erased. Noor's shadow hummed beneath his soles. "Consent," Elias said, palms up. He was calm the way a surgeon is calm with an artery in reach. "Give me 1 second." Marcus glanced out at the empty house like memorizing where applause would sit. "Take one," he said. Elias took it. Ask, grant, thread. The halo slid under skin and borrowed a tick. He wound the second through the bell. The chandelier brightened a fraction. "Another," Elias said. "Very well," Marcus said. "2 will not kill me." 2, 3, 4. Elias threaded each into iron and light. Theo's confetti fluttered in a draft no one else felt. 5, Marcus said before Elias could ask, like a host topping off wine. "That will do," Abina murmured. She could hear the line like a violin string warming under a bow. Elias reached for it, behind Marcus, along the spine, the keeper's staple singing from 1871 to right now. He pulled gently. The theater tilted. Not much, a coin under a table leg. The chandelier tinkled. Noor's circle drew tight enough to hum. Marcus's jaw shifted. Not fear. The small adjustment a man makes when a belt is one hole too tight. "Careful," he said again. "Don't overplay your hand. Audiences hate it when you peek in Act 1. "You aren't Act 1 anymore," Kate said from the edge, smiling like a librarian who has hidden the book you want. Elias pulled harder. The line glowed, visible to them all now. Silver thread stitched into a spine, running off into the wings, disappearing through brick and night and a century. The bell drank each second he could coax out of consent. The chandelier sang. Mika slid down from the lip and stood stage left, hands open. "Hey," she said to Marcus, "tell me something true, right now." He blinked, amused. "What power is this?" "Polite hand-holding," she said. "2 hands, 2 truths. Theater rules." He stepped toward her without hesitation because he never shows fear. She took both his hands and the room shifted, her gift making the air honest. Elias felt consent widen. The knot loosened around the line. The halo warmed. "What do you want?" Mika asked, voice small, child in a palace. Marcus's eyes softened for the first time since they'd met. "A beginning," he said, truth prickling his throat. "One I'm not ashamed to remember." "Good," Mika said, and let go. Elias yanked. The filings spun in a tight spiral. The chandelier chimed hard enough to draw a hairline crack in a crystal drop. The line between Marcus and Origin pulled taut enough to sing. Marcus staggered, his face, just a breath, younged at the edges. The skin around his eyes smoothed. The scar along his jaw faded. He took a step backward that wasn't fear, it was physics. Rowan moved like a stage manager with good timing. "Alonzo," he said quietly. Alonzo inhaled, a swimmer catching breath. 5 seconds, he said. "Take them." His palms warmed the stage. Debt flowed. Elias's tremor eased. Consent, Elias said, breath a rasp. Another second. Marcus smiled with half his mouth. 1. His eyes glittered. Interesting, isn't it? You ask me to be smaller and I am. But you have to spend yourself to do it. Worth it, Elias said. He took the second, threaded it, tugged. The line brightened like a fuse. Nor lifted both hands and the curtain moved, the thick velvet parting and rejoining with no wind. Shadow webbed the fly space above them, a net ready to drop. If he runs, she said, as if to the building. He won't, Abena said. He came for theater. We're giving him his favorite sin. Theo flicked his fingers and confetti fell in a blade-soft rain, 1,000 squares of paper that made the air busy. Marcus swatted at none of it. Paper cut theater gods too. It made him blink. It was enough. Origin, Abena murmured. Closer. I can smell the room. Elias reached until every muscle in his back sang. The thread in his hand thrummed like it wanted to jump a tooth on a gear. He pressed freeze into the chandelier, buying stillness, pressed slow into himself so his heart wouldn't knock him off his feet, pressed reverse into the bell until it wanted to be nothing but the sound it was built for. Marcus took a step forward into the circle, eyes pinned to Elias. He spoke to the audience that wasn't there, because some men are never alone when they talk. This is the part in myths where the boy dies to kill the king, he said, almost kindly. I suggest you decline the trope. Rewrite it, Elias said, and pulled. Time folded, not like paper, like cloth, soft, forgiving, but unforgiving when you try to make it forget a crease. The Rialto groaned. Dust cascaded from a cornice in a glittering cough. The chandelier sang a bright, terrified chord. The line through Marcus lit like wire. He changed, not diminished. Earlier, the age of his skin eased toward a younger grammar. His posture softened, less iron, more arrogance. His eyes, God help him, looked briefly less tired. Enough, Marcus breathed. He wasn't smiling now. He wasn't pleading. He was warning. He took a step and hit Nor's knot, and the shadow bit like ice water. Another, Elias said. Take it, Marcus said, teeth showing. He gave consent like a dare. Elias took it, and the world bucked. His right knee fired an electric scream into his spine. His fingers cramped around the tin. He saw Rena on a kitchen stool laughing at eggs, which made no sense and saved his balance. Alonzo groaned. Debt slid and settled. Anchor, Abena said through her teeth. Elias slammed the seconds into the bell so hard the filings flashed red. The chandelier went out and back on, a heartbeat of dark. Marcus exhaled a single syllable in a language no one had spoken in the city for 100 years. It tasted like smoke. Child, he said to Elias, and it was the closest he'd come to a compliment. You're making me an old man's fantasy, a do-over. Elias smiled, blood in his mouth. Happy to disappoint later. Mika stepped behind Marcus like a stagehand in tennis shoes and set the whoopee cushion on the stage deck where his heel would find it. Nor glanced down as if to say, really? Mika shrugged. Comedy. Marcus stepped. The cushion squealed peff-feft in the middle of a sacred moment. He laughed. He couldn't help it. The sound snapped the room a degree closer to human. Consent likes laughter. The line loosened for one instant, enough to pull. Elias yanked. Marcus plunged younger. 10 years in the jaw, 15 in the eyes. The audience of no one gasped together. He caught himself, palms out, chest heaving. Fury rose like a storm front and stalled an inch from his face because he refused to be ugly in velvet. Rowan, Elias said, voice thin. Call it. Rowan stepped forward and put his hand on the bell without touching it, which is to say he respected superstition, and spoke like a bailiff. Marcus Veyne, by your consent and your pattern, you are late to the moment you were kept. You will continue to be late. We will do this each day until the door you think you own closes without you. Marcus looked at him like a man reappraising a chair as a weapon. You think you can hold schedule against a century. Rowan's mouth twitched. I'm very good with calendars. Theo snapped his fingers and the confetti cut the air around Marcus into an itch. He had to blink again. Nor's rope lifted, lowered, A dancer's ankle. Abina closed her notebook on a sentence that felt like a seal. 2 more, Elias whispered, swaying. I can give 2. Alonso's breath hitched. I can hold 1. Then 1, Elias said. He took it carefully, like lifting a sleeping child. He threaded it. The line sang higher. Last, Elias said. He lifted his hand and the tremor made it a hummingbird. He took the second from his own years, not his present, pulled it out of the coin of stasis in his pocket he'd refused to spend since the shatter. He gave it to the bell. The Rialto took it like a dowry. Marcus swayed. For a breath he was 20, a pretty young man shocked by the idea that the world would keep being unfair. He looked at his hands like witnesses. He looked up at the chandelier like judgment. His mouth opened on a curse that remembered being a prayer. Enough, Alonso said, voice breaking. Stop. Elias stopped. Silence held the stage like a director who won't say cut to make actors tell the truth a half-second longer. Marcus breathed. He stood a long time without speaking. When he did, his voice was lower, kinder, or maybe that was simply how honesty sounds after velvet. You've proved it, he said. You can make me late. He straightened his tie, a man reacquainting himself with etiquette. I will still arrive. We'll keep you, Kate said from the edge, gentle like a schoolteacher telling a boy to put the frog back. Differently than she did. Marcus's eyes went to her and softened in a way that suggested he had once been held together by a woman with that exact timbre. He looked away before memory made that useful. He stepped to the edge of the circle. Nor untied the knot with a flick. He could have torn it. He didn't. Villains and saints share a respect for cues. He paused, turned back, and let his gaze rest on Elias a last time. There was no threat in it. There was assessment and a thin strand of what might have been respect, if you were charitable or tired. You're going to break, he said, almost apologetic. The trick will break you. Try not to make it art. Elias smiled with a cracked lip. We're going to make it a schedule. Marcus laughed quietly. You're funny, that's what will kill me. He walked up the aisle and out. The door's side closed. The chandelier gave back a final bright ping, like a teacup set down gently after news. Elias went to his knees. Alonso caught him as if he'd known exactly where gravity would change its mind. Debt took what it could. The rest stayed in Elias's bones. That was fair. Mika crouched in front of him, palms open. Truth? She asked softly. He put both hands in hers. I'm scared, he said, and it came out clean like a cough that finally moves. And I love this. And I hate that I love this. Me too, she said. That's how you know it's not a cult. Noor sat cross-legged on the stage, shadows loosening from her like smoke. We have the thread, she said. We have the bell. We have etiquette. We keep going. Abena touched the stage where the filings had been and closed her eyes. He has a beginning, she said. We can reach it. Kate tipped the tin against the footlight and made a tiny ring. We will reach it, and then we will need diapers. Theo flopped into a front row seat and stared at the ceiling. I'm buying a sippy cup that says world's okayest tyrant. Rowan checked his watch, because he always does, and nodded once. We do this again in 24 hours. Smaller pulls, more anchors. We move him days late, then months. The door will be closed by the time he finds it. Elias wiped his face with the heel of his hand and left a red smear he didn't feel like hiding. He stood, shaky. His knee complained. He ignored it. He looked up at the chandelier and, for once, didn't see danger. He saw a thing that wanted to sing and was finally being allowed. Curtain, he said. Nor let the velvet fall. The Rialto dimmed into the ordinary. Outside, night had a little wind in it, that good friend that keeps you awake on the walk home. The city breathed. Somewhere, a baby cried, and a mother shushed with the expertise of centuries. Somewhere else, a man missed a train by a minute and didn't know he'd been saved from grief. Patchwork filed out into the alley like crew after a strike. Tired, giddy, bruised in places, stage light doesn't find. The tin went into Kate's bag. The schedule went into Rowan's pocket. The ache went into Alonso's ledger. The joke went into Mika's, where it would ripen. Elias lagged behind and touched the stage door, metal cold under flaking paint. "Thank you," he told the door, and the room, and the woman in the cloister, and the chandelier, and the idea that beginnings can be bargained with. When he caught up, Noor matched his step. "He'll come sooner next time," she said. "I know," Elias said. "You'll want to take too much," she said. "I know. You'll leave him enough person." "I will." "Good," she said. "Let's go buy diapers before he notices." He laughed, and the laugh felt like a clean cough again. It left room. It made space for sleep. He slept 6 hours. He woke to a text from an unsaved number. "Be at the clock tower at noon. Let's be punctual. M.V." Rowan forwarded it to everyone with a single word. Schedule. They were going to be on time. Marcus was going to be late. That was the joke. That was the mercy. That was the plan. And somewhere under the plan, wrapped in iron filings and laughter and grief that had decided to behave, a small, absurd ending waited. A tyrant in a striped onesie. A second chance that required naps. A villain who would learn to ask for crackers. But for now, noon, a clock tower, a city that had begun to hum with bells no one had installed.